on, boys? Mick here with another video. Hope everybody had a good week. We are going to be discussing DMZ 2 and Modern Warfare 4 and things alike. Before that though, I do want to talk about Season 1 Reloaded. This is the new update that just landed for Call of Duty that I'm not even trying out in the background for no reason at all. You know, there's a zombies mode, but I haven't got round to it. More importantly though, they have released some Fallout-like cosmetics, some characters, the Brotherhood of Steel. This is all done through a free event, as I thought it was a free event. This is for XP. You gain the XP, you get the awards. Very simple, not a really well thought out event, but it is what it is. And then I come across this thing that they have done in the past before, and I think other video games have, but it's this premium version of the already free event. It's like, I mean, fair enough, if you enjoy the game, you want to support it, you want to do the rewards, you want to pay that extra whatever COD points it is, but like at the end of the day, we're just enabling utter greed. This is some of the greediest shit people can do in this industry. Like adding on a second layer of DLC for extra money, I don't know, it's just absolutely disgusting to look at. Disgusting! But we'll not stay too negative, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this video, and that is DMZ 2. The reason I thought about doing this video is because I was looking back on some of the older Call of Duties, and then I came across the Steam player count, and as somebody who's made Arc Raiders videos in the past and enjoys the game, I did see that Arc Raiders is just absolutely slamming the player count on the Steam charts for, you know, weeks now. And that got me thinking, well, Call of Duty, what do they like to do? Well, they like to go where the water flows. They like to copy other people, you know, when they made Warzone, copying Fortnite and PUBG. You know, different game companies that do stuff, and then Call of Duty kind of latches on and copies them because they're following the money. At the end of the day, the people making these decisions don't even play video games. So as I was thinking about Arc Raiders and Modern Warfare 4 and the likelihood of DMZ, even if it was like kind of on the table, it's definitely on the table now. They're definitely going to go with DMZ 2 this year. Now, DMZ 1 was really fun. I did play a lot of DMZ. It was, you know, probably one of the first extraction shooters I actually got into at the time. You know, I hadn't a lot of experience back then. But DMZ 1 was really good. I mean, it really captured that extraction shooter aspect, but kept it really casual and didn't really go too in-depth like other extraction shooter titles that we see. But that's one of the things I think that led to its downfall. I did think it was too basic and too bare bones. I do understand that it was a beta version, or a beta version, whatever you want to call it. And this means it wasn't fully fleshed out, it wasn't fully completed, and it was not a full release. So at the time when you're thinking about this game mode having all its bugs and it's a very basic version of an extraction shooter, despite all this and despite it being in beta, it was fun, I have to admit. DMZ 1 was good, it was fun like I said, but it didn't have any of these main components to extraction shooters that we see. You know, there wasn't exactly any loot value or any cool gear you could get to, you know, put on your character. It was like plates and 3 different backpacks you could get, and you couldn't really pick up items and stuff. And what I mean by that is there was no real depth in the inventory management or the weapon systems. It was very basic. It was almost like somebody had made an extraction shooter from a description of an extraction shooter, if that makes any sense. But it wasn't really rewarding due to that loot system. You know, if you did win a fight, you didn't really make extreme profit like you would in, say, Tarkov or Arc Raiders, because, you know, most people had top level plates, top level backpack. One of the main issues in DMZ was a lot of bugged quests that kind of halted your story and kind of stayed broken for a long time. And in a gameplay loop that values progression, this was a major issue. Despite all that, DMZ did do quite well. You know, people did say good things about it, but ultimately it died off, and I think it died off quite quickly. During its dying off then, this kind of downfall of DMZ 1, I think they did add different content and made it, you know, semi-playable, but there wasn't enough player count to actually get it out there or get people experienced in it. Despite all the issues with DMZ 1 then, I do think it's a good template for them to use in this next iteration that we're going to see in Modern Warfare 4. I'm 100% convinced that they're going to do DMZ 2 this year. It's almost inevitable. When Call of Duty sees somebody doing well, they see a gameplay loop making money, they see a company making money, they copy them right away. And I understand that DMZ was around before Arc Raiders, but that's what I'm going to kind of get into in this video. I don't think DMZ 2 is going to be anything like DMZ 1. So what's my experience with extraction shooters then? I have played Tarkov, ABI, Arc Raiders, In my personal opinion, extraction shooters are really good because with the loot system and the stuff you've carried in and the stuff you find, it adds that extra level of tension when you do get into a fight because you know all the stuff that you have on you is on the line. This is just a tension that you can't find in regular multiplayer games like Call of Duty because when you die, you just respawn and who cares? But extraction shooters really do capture the tension and capture that fear of losing your gear, the gear fear, In my personal experience with extraction shooters, though, I always tend to lean more towards the casual side. Tarkov and ABI were quite fun, and I know most people might say ABI is casual, but I don't think so. That hardcore extraction shooter, one headshot, different bullets, different helmets, stuff like that I really struggle with. And I'm not saying it's a bad game, like Tarkov isn't a bad game, it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not very good at them, so I don't really enjoy them. It just kind of goes that way sometimes, but it definitely is good in terms of extraction shooters. Now, I do understand that Tarkov has a lot of bugs and a lot of issues with the company leader kind of being a bit greedy with money, but it is a fun game. I do like it. Now on the DMZ then, what are we talking about with DMZ? Well, we do have leaks about DMZ that we'll look at in a minute, but these leaks are kind of, big grain of salt when you're reading these. I mean, it's fair to assume DMZ 2 is coming, but these leaks are just not trustworthy because they're quite old and, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 is still a long time away, so I will read them out, but we will take them with a grain of salt regardless. Okay guys, like I said, we're going to read these leaks, but what I will say is take these with a massive grain of salt, okay? I don't believe these leaks are reliable in any way, shape or form, but, I always like to look at them just, for curiosity purposes, let's say. Okay, potential content then. New map, codename Tumen, Operator Mace as a DMZ boss. Riot Shield returns, new type of DMZ currency, which is quite interesting, and new versions of Vondel and Fortune's Keep. Like I said, take everything with a grain of salt, who knows what's true and what's not, but the one interesting thing there was the DMZ currency. I think this game would do really well if they implemented some sort of trader system like we see in other extraction shooters. Really adds to the value of winning fights, if there is that loot value and trader system and people actually have, tangible amounts of money on them compared to just having an extra gun or something. This would be really interesting to see. I hope they go through with this. So before I get into this, I will like to say that this is all my predictions and my personal opinion on what Call of Duty will do. So like I said, Call of Duty like to go with the wind and follow the money, so my predictions for DMZ 2 are just going to be based off that exactly. Now with Arc Raiders being at the top of the Steam charts and Call of Duty not even making top 50 some days, it really is going to be a copycat situation. Now do I think they're going to go the route of Arc Raiders' combat and its looting system and its crafting system? Probably not, but I do think DMZ 2 is going to take a lot of pages out of a lot of books. It's my personal opinion that there's going to be inventory management like we see in Delta Force. I think they're probably going to get away with the plates and start doing gear, start doing body armor and helmets and stuff like that. Look, this is all my personal predictions. I mean, Call of Duty need to copy who's doing it best, and Arc Raiders are at the top of the game right now. But like we see in the Steam charts, the likes of, Delta Force are above Arc Raiders, and I put a lot of hours into Delta Force, so what I think Call of Duty are going to do, they're going to ramp up with the MZ2. It's going to be fully fleshed out, and they're going to change the systems completely. I think they're going to do away with the plate armor and actually go for gear this time. I think they're going to go for an inventory management system similar to Delta Force. I really do think they're going to bring that extraction shooter experience to us this year. I think they're going to take it to that next level. Now, while I may be wrong, I do think there's a lot of evidence to suggest this. I mean, Call of Duty have copied games in the past. I mean, look at Warzone. Warzone was a direct response to Fortnite. So DMZ 2, if it does go down that route of the gear system and the weapons, and you have to put them in your backpack and bring them out somewhere like Tarkov, and have to find weapon modifications in the world, bring them out and build your weapons and have actual weapon builds like you see in other extraction shooters like Delta Force and Tarkov. I don't think this is completely far-fetched at all. I think this is probably likely what we're going to see in DMZ 2. Now that's what the customer wants. They want that extraction shooter, experience. It's not just about going in and surviving and extracting. Extraction shooters really do shine because of the customization and the loot and the reward from winning fights. I mean, if they added in like little treasures and stuff and loot value and a market system, when you actually win a fight, it's going to be that much more rewarding and the gameplay loop becomes that much more addicting. If Call of Duty do go down the route of DMZ 1 and just flesh out that 3-plate system and the 2 weapons and the loadout and all that shit, I do think DMZ 2 is going to fail and it's not going to be received well from the community. It might be fun for the first couple months on release, but if they really do want to make this sell and make this a big game mode and really fill the zombies gap that's going to be left when everyone moves on to this next release, they're going to have to make a really good DMZ. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but in order to make that good DMZ, they're going to have to copy Arc Raiders, and that's what they're going to do. So they're really going to flesh out this extraction shooter. I think DMZ 2 is going to really surprise everybody this year. I actually hope it does, because as I said, I enjoy that extraction shooter gameplay loop. I enjoy that tension. Because if you think about it, if DMZ is successful and does really well and everybody starts playing it, then they start taking up that market, that market share of extraction shooters. Because right now, if we all kind of admit it, battle royales are getting kind of mid. I mean, like, a lot of people enjoy them, and I do like the gameplay loop of battle royales. But we all have to admit they have been kind of dying out over the years, and people are looking for something different. And, that kind of shows in Arc Raiders player counts that people are starting to prefer that extraction shooter genre. Well, I don't have any evidence for anything I've just said, like I mentioned before. To kind of sum it up, my predictions are we're going to see backpack systems and inventory management systems like in regular extraction shooters like Delta Force. I do think we're going to see gear like helmets and body armor instead of that 3-plate system. I think we're going to see loot value and different treasures and a trader system for sure. And I think we're going to see dedicated maps and maybe a map that requires some sort of access like cards like we've seen in Tarkov Labs. Now, while all of this is speculation and just based off the fact Call of Duty like to copy people, I do think I'm kind of on the ball here, and I hope I'm on the ball. But DMZ might come out and it's just like DMZ 1 and I'm completely wrong, and so be it, it's no harm done. I think we can all agree that the stuff I have mentioned is what was missing in DMZ 1. It was very bland, it was kind of empty, but it was more just like the weapons and the loot and the rewarding aspect from winning fights. I mean, some DMZ games you would just walk over the whole lobby, just, drive around in a 50 cal LTV and just decimate everybody that was there. But yeah, I mean, as I said, I could be wrong, but I think the things that I have mentioned that other extraction shooters have been doing in the past with the likes of Arc Raiders, I think this would make DMZ2 really, really good. If they did add in all these things and even more and fleshed out the content and really, exceeded expectations when it came to DMZ2, I think it could be a heavy hitter in the extraction shooter space, and most importantly, as I said before, it will fill that gap that Zombies is going to leave. Of course, you can still play Zombies, when Modern Warfare 4 comes out, it's not illegal or it's going to disappear or anything, but most people do move on to the next title and kind of just go with the flow. So like I said, DMZ would fill that gap that Zombies is going to leave, because right now Zombies is carrying Black Ops 7 in my personal opinion. But that's going to be it for the video. It's going to be a kind of short one here. I just want to get my thoughts out on DMZ2. And what I've discussed, I really do hope they go down this route. It will be really good and I would enjoy playing that game. But that's going to be it for the video then. I did just want to kind of get my thoughts out on DMZ2 and my predictions, so I should speak. We're kind of going MrMickk here, but I really do hope they go down this route, because DMZ2 would be really fun if it was that, hardcore-esque kind of extraction shooter experience that we didn't really get with the first one. But other than that, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I thank you very much. You are a legend. And if you want to leave your thoughts below on DMZ or how you like DMZ, if you liked it or not, whatever, just leave that down below and I'll get back to you. Other than that, boys, I'm going to head off. I'll see you in the next one.